Welcome. You're listening to the I'm Wired to Inspire podcast, creatively engineered by Nicole, the inspiration specialist. I'm Wired to Inspire is a powerfully packed 5-minute podcast filled with inspiration and encouragement to get you through your day. It's designed to inspire you to live your authentic purpose. Now stay tuned for your host, Nicole, the inspiration specialist, on today's episode of I'm Wired to Inspire.
Hey everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast. I am Nicole, the inspiration specialist, and I am wired to inspire you to live your authentic purpose. And with that, God had laid on my heart in December of 2017 that He wanted me to focus on my Breakdown Walls ministry. He wanted me to put more emphasis on healing. At the time, it was early December. I had no idea what that was going to look like. But over the course of that month before the new year came in, He solidified everything that He wanted me to do. And here we are with the healing experience. It is a year of healing and loving yourself back to life God's way. And with that, this was created as an outlet to open the door to inner healing, growth, and developing a closer relationship with God, and also getting you closer to your purpose. If you are already operating in your purpose, this is a really, really great thing for you to go through with me for the year, because it's going to help fine tune things that you don't even realize could actually further where you are. And for those of you who are like, I have no idea what my purpose is, I'm so annoyed, I don't understand my career, I don't understand my life, I don't know what's going on, this is excellent for you as well, because you may discover that there are some things that have been hiding in plain sight that could be boulders and blocks that's keeping you from getting to that purpose, because there's some healing that needs to take place. So I want you guys to just really allow yourself to become whoever it is that God is trying to inspire you to become. And again, this is not for everybody, but for those of you who are interested in the topics that I'm going to be talking about throughout this year, this will be of great value to you. And I pray that it's of great value to you. Even if it's just one person, I'll know that God had a purpose for me doing this. So essentially it's 12 months, 5 days a week, and a year of healing. Okay. So it'll approximately be about 30 hours total. By the time we get to December, y'all, it'll be almost about 30 hours of healing throughout the whole year, because this is how it's broken down. About the third week of every month, there will be a new topic to discuss. Okay. And in that 1 week, I will discuss it for 5 days, Monday through Friday. I will break it down. You have a free complimentary download for each month, and you can actually access that right beneath this podcast. The one for this month will be available on Wednesday. That's January 17th, 2018. You will be able to get the download for this one. Then this is a holiday week with MLK, so that's why there's a delay by only 2 days, but it'll definitely be there for you by Wednesday. So with that download, you'll have a brief explanation of the topic and the questions that I will be covering. And I would also encourage you, I have a workbook that also goes with this series, and it's $9.99. If you do purchase the workbook, it is in PDF form, and you will also get a recording of me breaking down how to maximize your usage of the workbook so that you can get down to brass tacks. The reason why I did the workbook was for 2 reasons. People asked me for one, and secondly, I actually used one myself before in my healing process, and it worked wonders for me, because when things started to come back up that I forgot I'd already dealt with, I had things logged. The tough questions were answered. I'd written them down. They'd been journaled and things like that. So I was able to go back to it and say, okay, wait a minute. I'm over this in my mind, but my reaction is still my old reaction. So I need to kind of get back on the good foot. So that's definitely an option for you also. And if you look at all 12 of these things, you're like, you know what? I don't really want to do this whole thing, but the process, maybe I want to get some help with, and maybe the mistrust. I would like to work on that. Well, guess what? Each topic has their own individual little workbook. So if you just want to get the workbook for each topic, you'll have the option to get those as well. And those will also come with a recording for that particular topic, and it will help you maximize what you need to do to really see some healing in the area that you are most longing to see it. And again, all of those downloadable options and products and services will be available on the 17th. That's in 2 days, and you'll be able to get whatever it is you need. And listen, the other thing I forgot to mention, if you purchase any of the workbooks, if you purchase anything in that has to do with this experience. Now, the whole experience, the podcast, all of that's free. You know, all my stuff is always free. I only added a workbook because people asked me. I did one for the Queen Me series in 2017, and it was a hit. I had so many women hit me up. They took pictures of them writing in their notes and all of that. And they were like, yo, I need another notebook, another workbook. Like, are you going to do that again? So since this year I'm not doing any series and I'm doing this experience for the entire year, I definitely wanted to provide that because I had the Queen Me series and I think 3 other series after, and I still didn't do a workbook and people were still asking for it. So this time I wanted to do it. And also the workbook is roughly maybe well over 110 pages. So it is definitely well worth it, and it'll give you the chance to break it down. I'm also going to have a link for a PDF specialty app where I believe you can upload it and you can type in the PDF if you don't want to print the pages. Or some people just get the workbook and they download it and then they have a little journal or a little notebook on the side and they just log their answers in that. So I don't have any hard copies. If you want hard copies, you can totally get them. I could totally give you a hard copy. But for the most part, I tried to create something that everybody wanted. Everybody kind of likes the way the whole PDF thing is set up and the downloadable ebook is set up. So that's how I created the workbook. But again, totally not necessary if you don't need it, if you don't want it. Just listen in. You can get your complimentary download and that'll be that. But again, when you join, you will be able to get into the closed Facebook group. And again, I wanted to create a community to help those who are really seeking genuine healing. And they'll have some assistants and some other people kind of in their corner to help them out because we know the process of healing is very difficult. It can be very hard. And I definitely did not want to leave you guys hanging. And I just wanted to have a safe space for you to kind of, talk about some of the things and some questions that you may have had to kind of walk through that process. Okay, so with all of that being said, guys, thank you so much. This is the first week and we are talking about process. Now, this is the only time this year where I will be highlighting a book. But God dropped it on my spirit to begin with process, and it was inspired by Adrienne E. Moore's book, Process to Purpose. Your purpose has a sound. Here's a little brief overview from her book, and it's just a little explanation of why she actually wrote the book. And when I finish that, she actually is going to come in with a message for you guys for this week. And she was gracious enough to do something for me. I asked her if she wanted to say anything while we focus on this, because again, we're going to do 12 topics this year. And it was imperative that I began with process. We have to understand the breakdown of processing the things that have hurt us and caused us pain. And you will see very soon why I started off with process to purpose. It is actually imperative that we figure out what process we've been using in our lives that has been hiding the healing or causing us to avoid the healing. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to read to you something she wrote about the book, and then you're going to actually hear from her, and then I'll come in and close out. Okay. So it says, everything you've dealt with and will deal with has a purpose. Yes, every tear you've cried, every storm you've weathered, every loss you've endured, every battle you fought, and every obstacle you faced had a purpose. Its purpose was to help you channel your sound. When many of us go through the roller coasters of life, we complain, whine, throw temper tantrums, and even curse. The words that proceed from our lips do not beckon God into our situation. They do not set angles in place. Neither do they reveal the faith we were called to walk in. The reason for this is because we have not yet realized the power and the purpose of our sound. When we release our purpose sound in the earth, it will cause a reaction and command a response. The sound we release in our times of turmoil reveal whose attention and response we hope to receive. Now, guys, here's author Adrienne E. Moore with more information on process to purpose.
Hi, my name is Adrienne Moore. I am the author of Process to Purpose. Your purpose has a sound. First, I want to say thank you to Nicole Kendrick for having me on her podcast. I want to thank God for who she is in my life. I thank God for her sound in the earth. She is unique in how God created her and how she functions and how she understands what God is doing in her and what God has purposed to do through her. so thank you for all of you who have tuned in and are listening on today. What you are about to experience and encounter because of this book that was birthed out in prayer and through prayer is finding out what your response is when life happens. The thing of it is that God purposed and created us to release a sound in the earth, just as anything else in the earth. It has a action and a reaction. And when things hit our lives, what the question is for us is, what do we do? How do we respond? Do we give God the glory, or do we give the storm the glory? And one of the things that I came to realize and understand is that if all of the focus and the attention is on the fire or the rain or the storm, then where is God being glorified in it? The sickness, the disease, the heartbreak, the divorce, the loss of the job, the loss of a house, the loss of a car, the loss of a loved one. Yes, these things happen. Yes, they're going to keep happening. But even in the event of all of this, God is still God. He is sovereign, and everything is scheduled. Nothing catches him off guard. Yes, it sucker punches us. Yes, it knocks us off of our feet. Yes, it takes our breath away at times and in seasons. But God knows everything. He knows according to his word. He says, I know the plans that I have for you. They're good and not of evil, for a hope in a future and an expected end. So yes, we think and say, God, where are you? Why did this happen? Why is this happening? Why does this keep happening? We feel like the little child that is always asking their parent why, and we keep getting an answer, but it's not the answer that satisfies us. And so we keep asking God why. But the word tells us in Romans 8:28, all things are working together for our good. And so even though it doesn't feel good and it doesn't look good and at times it doesn't even sound good, it's working. It's working out for a betterment of who we are and what we have been called and purposed to do in the earth. Because every storm and every test and every trial, it's not about us. Even though we're the one that is taking the test, and even though we're the one that's in the trial, even though we're the one that's in the storm, even though we're in the one in the midst of the divorce, even though we're the one that just got told that they're letting us go, even though we're the one that is lowering the loved one into the ground, it all has a purpose. And it is to give God glory. It's about letting somebody else know that even in all of this, I'm still able to lift my head. I'm able to lift my hands. I'm able to lift my voice and say, God, thank you. I thank you that you chose me for this test. I thank you that you chose me for this trial. I thank you that you chose me to go through this. It didn't kill me, even though it felt like it did and it was going to. It didn't kill me. It didn't break me. It brought me through. And so, Father, I thank you. That's what he's looking for. That's what his expectation is of us. We don't always give it to him. None of us always do. I have not always given it to him. I've not always gotten it right, and I've not always done it right. But through life and through my test and through my trials, it built and birthed my testimony that God is able and God is faithful, even when it doesn't look like it, even when I'm not faithful, even when I don't get it right and do it right, he's still faithful to me and he's still faithful to you. And so the whole purpose of this book is for us to find our sound in the earth. It's to get somebody else out of the place that we just escaped by his grace and his mercy. It's to get somebody else out of the place that we have lived in or felt trapped in for so long. But yet God, in his timing and his sovereignty, he caused an escape plan, an escape route to show up, and we made it out. And so that's the purpose of finding our sound and releasing our sound, is to let somebody know if he did it for me, he can do it for you. He may not do it the same way he did it for me, but he's able to do it for you. And the reason why I can say that is because I made it out. And so that's what your sound is for. And so I pray that this book blesses your life. And if it does, bless somebody else with it. I'm not promoting me. I'm promoting you. I want you to find your place in your sound in God, that you'll be able to go out in the earth and know that you have been created for such a time as this. What came into your life, it came in and it tried to kill you. It tried to make you lose your mind. It tried to make you give up and throw in the towel and throw your hands up, to walk out on the marriage and to give up on the kids and to give up all hope but God. So I want you to find your footing in God in this season and in this hour. I pray that this book helps you find where it is, locate yourself, and then ask God, give me the directions and the instructions so that I can be the blessing in the earth to somebody else, because I'm still alive, I'm still here, and that is because you have a plan and a purpose for me. Know that for your life, that you're still here because he has need of you. It's not by chance and not by happenstance. God loves you more than you know, and I love you just as much. And my heart is that you find your place in the earth and do whatever it is God called and purposed and planned you to do, and cause hell to know that they did not win. They do not have the victory in your life, because your God is bigger, your God is greater, and your God is stronger. Release your roar in 2018 and beyond, because you are a real overcomer that will always rise up. God bless you.
Man, wasn't that a word? She ended up giving a word with that introduction. Seriously. I know I felt it when I heard it. I really felt encouraged by it. So again, that's another confirmation as to why God laid it on my heart to really focus on this book this week. Now, I'm only focusing on 5 questions that she posed in this book. Okay. And they are as follows. What do you do when the shaking of life happens? What is your response to turmoil? Do you whine or do you worship? Do you blame or become broken? Do you quit or press all the way in? So today is Monday. We're going to tackle the first question, and that is, what do you do when the shaking of life happens? Okay. We're getting down to the nitty gritty of healing on this thing. So you might be saying, okay, Robin, I get it. I hear what you're saying, but what are you talking about with process? Like, how does this make sense? So here's the thing. When we grow up, wherever we grow up, whatever our environment is, there's something called learned behavior, right? So many times when we process the things that we experience in our lives, it's learned behavior. So many of us are actually living the way we were raised and not the way we were made. So with that, some of us are operating from a place of inauthenticity, really not realizing we're not living our best lives, because if we saw our mom handle her problems through alcohol, or we saw our dad handling problems from running off, or we saw somebody getting beat, or somebody did something to us, or whatever the case may be, you can run the gamut. You can choose, because there's so many things that have happened to each and every one of us in our lives. Everyone has a different story. But what you begin to discover is your process and how you walk through that thing, that may not be your natural way of doing it. And some of you could be listening, you can be 50 years old and have not come to the realization that you have to unlearn some things. There's some of you who are 18 and in college, or might not even be in college yet. And you may hear this and it may ring a bell. You ever notice how sometimes people say, oh, you're just like your mama, you're just like your grandma, you're just like whoever, right? We've experienced that before at one time or another. Most of us have. And what you don't understand is this, is like, yes, there are hereditary things. There are things that are passed down to your bloodline. But there is something in each and every one of us that God has put in us to help us to break down the things that come to us. Now, of course, we know we start with the Father. That's the first thing. And by that, I mean, you bring everything to God first, and this is why the process is so deep, y'all. And even Adrienne said it. It's like, if you are spewing things that the enemy likes, then that means you're telling the enemy you need his help. You need him to come in and help you out with what you're doing. Because you cursing and cutting up, that's not godly language. So basically, whoever you call out to, that's who's going to come back and respond to you. So if you're cursing and cutting up, that's not godly language. That's not heavenly language. So you will get a response. You will get something coming back to you. But if you're spewing out negativity, then that's what you're going to get back. Can any of you identify with this? When the shaking of life happens, your first response and your first result is either to call somebody and tell them. Second, overreact, maybe get emotional, maybe cry. Maybe the opposite extreme, you just get quiet, you don't say anything. If any of these things you can identify with, let's tap into that for a second. Let's go back to as far back as you can remember when you had to face maybe your first big issue alone. Whatever it may be, if it was a confrontation at school, something at home, with a friend. Everybody usually has some type of defining moment where they can really start to pay attention to what their process is and how they start to handle things. Because, I had a friend tell me one time when they first started dating girls, like he was like Mr. Lover Man, like he was all like faithful. He just loved girls and, he would just be so nice. And then he got his heart broken. And he said, the first time he got his heart broken, it was like, okay, he was really, really sad by that. But he said he tried one more time. And then when he got his heart broken the second time, he created this other persona. And he decided from that point on, he would no longer be the guy that got his heart broken before. So he crossed over from being a heartbreaker. To being someone who had gotten his heart broken to being a heartbreaker. But this series is to help you to go from being a heartbreaker to being a heart mender. Because what the enemy wants you to do is get hurt and bothered by things that are not healed, things that are deeply hidden, because in your process, somewhere in your process of becoming who you are right now, you have edited the process that's going to get you the best result. So when the shaking in life happens, you lose it. You do not immediately start praying. You do not immediately say, okay, God, what can we do? Instead of going to the throne, you do go to the phone first. These are the kind of things that have to be unlearned. And that is why it is paramount. This experience start with process. We can't break down anything else until we get to the process. So let's think about the shaking one last time. When life starts to shake and things start to, get a little rattled for you when you're like, God, I just can't take it. I want you to think about a snow globe. How you can take a snow globe and you can just shake it, and the snow and everything is falling all over the place. But you notice how the little pieces and the little ornaments on the inside are just kind of stuck and they don't move. The only thing that moves is the snow. Well, that's kind of like the process of becoming. And what I mean by the process of becoming is this. We're always in that space because you're always in the process of becoming either a better version of yourself or a lesser version of yourself. Okay? And in order for you to determine which is which, you have to decide if you're going to be the snowflakes or if you're going to be the ornaments when all of the chaos of the snowflakes are all over the place and then they fall down and then they settle. So the whole goal and the whole point of the shaking is this. You want to commit to finding out what got you from being the ornaments that were standing in place and strong and believing God at what he said versus what turned you into the snowflakes. So anytime somebody does something, they can shake that globe and you the globe, they can shake it. And then you just all over the place. And then you at the mercy of everything settling on the inside and you begin to settle with it. It's like you're at its mercy. But the things that just stand and they don't move in that snow globe, nothing can affect them because everything is shaking, the snow is rattling. But you know what they know? That snow is going to hit the ground. And when somebody shakes it again, I'm not going to be out of my place. But do you realize every time you shake that globe, the same piece of snow never lands in the same place twice? And it's just like whoever wants to take that globe and shake it, the snow is at its mercy. It's at its mercy. And it's almost like the ornaments know, hey, listen, you know what? I'll just stay here. And I'm saying ornaments is probably a better word for that, or figures or whatever you want to call them. But at least they're in place and they know no matter how much you shake that mug, it does not matter. It is still going to be where it is supposed to be. So what do you do when the shaking of life happens for you? Think about that. Think about that. If you thought about healing when it came to this process and you're realizing now, you know what? I never paid attention, but when the shaking of life happens, I don't immediately go to God, and I know that I should. I pray all the time. I fast. But immediately when something goes wrong, I haven't even paid attention until just now. I kind of don't address God first. As much as I pray, as much as I'm a warrior, and there's some of you who don't, you're not even prayer warriors, you're not even into none of that. But you just straight up be like, nah, let me figure it out. The point of that is this. You want your process to be so dope that When things in life begin to haunt you, things in life begin to shake you, you are in a place of a whole person. Some of us are easily shaken by things because there's some pain there. Who did you something? The first major thing that you can recall or remember that had you shook, what made you jump to, oh God, I need to try to fix it myself? What made you jump to do what maybe you saw your parents doing? Was it because that's who taught you everything and that's what you knew? Or maybe you didn't have parentals around. Maybe it was your teachers. Maybe it was your siblings. Who taught you what you know? Who taught you what you know? Because there's some of you who have successfully overcome all of that. You've created a successful life. But guess what? How you process things when things shake, you may put on a facade to other people. But guess what? You could be really altering your relationships and the opportunities coming your way because you have created a semblance of how you really feel and not how you actually feel. Therein lies you creating a process to get you through. People don't ask you questions. You know exactly how to move around, manipulate the scenario, and you keep it moving. But that only hurts you. So this is what I want you to think about today. How can you help yourself to move on? How can you examine yourself for change? How can you appreciate yourself now based on everything you've known, everything you've pondered about this topic, this question today? And lastly, can you learn to lean on God forever and not just in those times when after you've been shaken and after you've talked to the world and after you've tried to figure it out on your own, then you go to God. And again, that's for the highest praiser all the way down to the person who don't even know about none of that, because it happens to the best of us. So that is something I want you to ponder. And lastly, I want you to read James chapter 1, verse 12. And it reads, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love them." In order for you to stand the test, he says, stood the test. Again, that reminds me of those figures and those ornaments stuck to the bottom of that snow globe. Okay. That's standing the test. You want to be able to get so firm in your faith that it does not matter how many snowflakes falling. It does not matter how many bullets flying. It does not matter how much drama is around you, what people are saying around you. You want to get back to how you were made and not necessarily how you were raised. And the prayer for this is simple. Lord, if I am doing anything in my process of breaking things down, figuring things out for my life, and I think it's A-okay, it's fine because everything seems great, but it has been a mask from the enemy, and there is really something deeper in me. There is really something better in me. There is a greater approach in me, and I haven't even recognized it because I've been gone with this facade so long. Reveal it to me. Bust it up. And although it may not be comfortable, Lord, I want you to do that for me, because I know behind this process that you may not have put in my life, but I have learned how to function in. I've learned how to walk in. Behind this may be the actual process that you've carved out for me in my walk, in my journey. And by using the process that you have given me, it will cause me to accelerate. It will cause me to amplify in every area of my life, physically, emotionally, financially, and most importantly, spiritually. If that is a thing, if I don't react the way you've called me to react to the shaking of life, I pray in the name of Jesus that you give me exactly what I need for it to be exposed, for a change to come into effect, and for me to get in line as I begin the process of becoming healed. That was your first day of the Healing Experience 2018. And I want you to make sure that you join me tomorrow for day 2. And we will still be talking about the book by Adrienne E. Moore, The Process to Purpose. Your purpose has a sound. And tomorrow's question that we will be addressing is, what is your response to turmoil? I'm wired to inspire. I hope you are too.
Thanks for listening to I'm Wired to Inspire podcast at I'mWiredToInspire.com. If you enjoyed the show, spread the word and be sure to hit the 5-star rating on iTunes. For more information on this podcast and inspirational products and services, log on to the inspirationspecialist.life or imwiredtoinspire.com. And remember to live your authentic purpose. Thanks again, and see you next time.